Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 25th, 2021 at approximately 5:55 a.m. PST. Well, I figure we might as well get started on a decent day today, or at a decent pace. So, got the important things. House is in order, in a manner of speaking. At least better than what it was. Got an idea of where we're heading for the day. Dag nabbit. Oh well. I've got my list of, This is a live recording, so I do not go back and change any of this. Okay, the only thing I do when I get finished is I go back and double check to make sure that I got the right date at the beginning of the recording. Other than that, you get any mistakes. Okay, if I mess up, like tripping over my own words, that's what comes out on the video. Okay, and whether it's okay or not, to be frank, that's the way it comes out. I do have to say thank you again. The people that encouraged me to start this routine of getting these videos out were directly responsible for these videos coming out. Now, if you were one of the people that was asking me to get information out, thank you very much. You know who you are. I certainly don't recall all of you. But it started out, I was just looking at how to get my life in order. As time went on, it became very clear that getting my life in order was only the beginning, because I got looking at the reality behind it. And this applies to you as well. This is why we are literally all in this together. One world, one species. As far as humans go, one species. Multiple races. We understand the issue that there is a lot of stress, a lot of conflict, and a lot of misinformation that's been handed out. Greed, prejudice have all been taught. Fear has been drilled into people. It's time to take that teaching and turn it around. Now, there is nothing anybody can do about what has been taught in the past. But what you can do is decide where you go from here. Every one of you is responsible for your actions. 100% of your actions, your words, even your thought processes are your personal responsibility. Now, I have heard tale of some people out there that have the ability to modify the way people feel. Many of these people do it accidentally. Now, we've talked about empaths in the past. Personally, I am one. Okay, meaning I physically pick up I physically feel what other people feel. This is one of the primary reasons why I have stayed away from people and became rather reclusive overall. Not necessarily the best path, but it saved me a whole lot of headaches. You can't change how you got to where you are, regardless of who you are or what station your life is. What you can control is where you go from here. Okay, you can control how you respond to other people's input, other people's viewpoints. You cannot control the way that they think or the way that they portray themselves, but you can control the way you choose to react to it. Okay, now, if you're one of these people that claim to be a spiritual guide or a religious leader, it's time to start telling people fear is not the way. Does God exist by many different names? Absolutely, in my opinion. However, fearing him makes him, her, whatever. Fearing it does not make any functional sense. If you think of it in practical terms, he built a world. He built an entire existence without you. He does not require worshippers. However, he does desire respect. And as he has told people in many different religions, many different guidelines, love your neighbor as yourself. Now, I'll tell you, the amount of chaos, debauchery, and greed that I'm seeing out there right now tells me wholeheartedly, you people do not love yourselves as much as you probably should. Now, there are some of you that absolutely do. Okay, there are absolutely people out there that are doing it, and to you, thumbs up. Hopefully we get a thumbs up on this video. Okay, but the massive majority of people, when you look at the way that they treat each other, when we look at the way that the people around you treat each other, the greed that is out there, the fear that is being propagated and passed around, if this is loving yourself as you love your neighbor, then you must, or love your neighbor as you love yourself, you must not have a whole lot outlook on yourself of a very positive nature. Myself, I'm personally now quite content with the path I'm on. It's not perfect, but I have attained a lot of the goals that I was aiming at. Okay, and things are turning around from my standpoint. Net result, I can deal with the people out there a little more readily. But it took looking at myself and looking at the world I was living in. And my world, of course, boiled down to 1,000 square feet of real estate inside my apartment. Okay, it's time to start working on yourself. Okay, change that world around you and it will affect the world outside. Okay, kind of like, it's kind of like if you take a pond, right, you take a puddle of water and just drop a pedal in it. That pedal impacts on that specific spot. And as soon as it does that, it causes a ripple effect that reaches out. Same idea. You fix your home, and that will have a ripple effect on the neighbors around you. Okay, the more contact you have with them, the better your communication lines. Now, understand, we have a major problem going on. This is not a joke. It is something, it's frustrating. It's been a year now. A lot of the problem has been that people, on the whole, have been totally ignoring reasonable guidelines. Okay. Yes, it has interfered, this whole thing has interfered with people's lives. It has absolutely created havoc, and I've had my own views on it that I just don't vocalize a lot of. Like, I've got some negative views on things as well. I choose not to point them out because I don't see as it will help. But because people on a massive majority are ignoring the guidelines, we are back, from what I gather, they're calling it the third wave now. Now, the question you have to ask yourself, do you feel like going through a fourth one? If not, it's time to really buck up and go, okay, what can I do to keep myself healthy, to change the way I'm doing things so that I'm not contributing to the problem? Now, I am not talking about any specific, routine as far as medical treatment and what have you goes. Frankly, that's personal choice. Okay. Now, where it becomes where you're working directly with the public, okay, especially your frontline workers, okay, part of the issue here, they've kind of now, I'm not debating whether or not the vaccine works, whether it doesn't work. That's not my point. I am not a scientist. I can't tell you. I cannot tell you if the virus, from a scientific standpoint, works. I can tell you the scientists seem to think it does. And therefore, if you're a frontline worker and you're given the opportunity of the vaccine, it does not make sense to me not to take it. Now, I don't work frontline. I'm reclusive. So what I do is it doesn't have a whole lot of impact on me. If you're one of these people that's staying at home and doesn't deal with people face to face very often, whether you're out dealing with people, you're not likely to catch a cold if you're not outside where you're around people that have one. Your odds are pretty limited. Okay, but this issue of the mask. Now, I have left this whole thing alone for the longest time. But I was at my apartment the other day. Now, on our front window, at the front door, it says, wear a mask in your public area. Okay, any of the public areas, not in your own apartment, but in the public areas, it says wear a mask. And yet we had a frontline, and this is not indicative of the frontline workers, but there was a frontline worker that came into this apartment and was not wearing a mask. Now, to me, if you're frontline workers, first of all, thank you very much for being the frontline. Lord knows I couldn't do the job for a lot of reasons. But if you are a frontline worker, for pity's sakes, if the vaccine is available to you, it would be wise, or never mind the vaccine, if you're a frontline worker, the vaccine is a viable option, and as far as the scientists have figured out, and I have to run with what they say, it is helpful. Where the mask is concerned, it absolutely should be followed at this point. Now, I don't personally like them. Okay, however, when I'm going out in public, okay, when I'm going through a building that says mask, even if it only says mask recommended, I put the mask on. Okay, if it says mask required, okay, I obviously wear it. And if you're going out, the mask, it's a piece of cloth. You may not like it much. I don't. Okay, but that's my personal opinion. But I will tell you, if you're working front line, for pity's sakes, whether you like it or not, okay, wear the thing. In my personal opinion, if you're refusing to wear it and you work in that kind of an environment, your employer has every reasonable right to cut your hours way back. At the very least, to lay you off. At which point you're going to go, well, they're not being fair. They actually are being fair. They told you, wear the mask. Don't wear the mask, don't do the job. Okay, it's kind of like, if you're joining the military, and I've got a lot of respect for the military personally, you're told, wear an armored vest. Well, for pity's sakes, if they tell you to wear it, put the dang thing on. Okay, if you're not going to wear the required safety gear, you don't see firemen very often running into a fire without their fire gear. It just doesn't make sense to them. Well, if you're a frontline worker and the mask is available, you're talking about a piece of cloth. Okay, a piece of cloth, a plastic shield, whatever. Now you can argue the usefulness of it all you want. Okay, you can dislike it, you can be vocal about it all you want. But put the dang thing on. Okay, now if we work together, we can bring this whole mess down to a final point. Now, I don't know about you, but being reclusive to start with worked out well for me. I used to have to tell people, I don't want to go out. I just don't feel like going out in the public. Okay, when Corona hit, it was really wonderful for me. They said, the professional said, stay home, stay away from people, and drink warm liquids because that will help your lungs. And I'm thinking, I don't like going out in public. I stay home anyway. And I've got a 30-cup urn for coffee. I'm good. Okay. So, for me personally, it didn't have a lot of impact on my life. But there's a lot of people that like going out socializing. A lot of people that like getting out amongst people. Okay. A lot of people whose jobs require getting out. With that in mind, whether you agree with it, as I heard it put, and it was politely phrased, but as it was put in one movie in a different context, if it interferes with your sensitivities, if it interferes with your perception of your freedoms for a little bit of time, live with it. Okay, deal with it as best you can. Talk to people. Use the internet. It's up and running. Use the video connections. That will help you a great deal. But it's time to work together. I talk about the religious people talking, spreading and quite frankly propagating fear. Fear God, fear this, fear that, fear your neighbor. Scrap the idea of love your neighbor, it seems. Fear everybody around you. This seems to be the common rule. We're not talking about fearing them. We're talking about not ending up with loved ones dead beside you. I know of many people that have lost loved ones to literally the virus. Never mind the fact that the numbers are questionable at best. Okay, because the virus is such a dominant problem that the scientists are looking at it going, it's, COVID is on the front of everything. Now, to the media people, I strongly recommend that you start broadcasting and start spreading news about the positive things that are going on. Okay, now I refuse to use names on here. Okay, once in a while I probably slip up and reference a company that you recognize, or I don't think I've ever referenced a name, but my intention is certainly not to spread anybody's name but my own. Okay, I'm choosing to do this. I'm choosing to step into the spotlight. Probably should have done a long time ago. But there are companies out there that are doing their level best to work inside the boundaries that are being laid out and keep their businesses open. This is the way to keep the money rolling. And let's face it, money sitting in your pocket does not do a whole lot. Leave it sit in the bank and see how well that works. But by working together, we can bring this whole thing under control and we can get it put behind us. Okay, there have been, you think back. Well, you probably can't think that far back. I personally remember it. Go back to 1347, the Black Death. We didn't think it was ever going to go away. Okay, it felt like it was going to take forever, and if I recall correctly, and somebody can look back over the dates for it, but if I recall correctly, it took us almost 5 years to get rid of it. Personally, I'd like to see this go away a lot quicker. At that point, the reality was information did not travel that fast. Right now, the information is global. It's not just starting in one little spot and then spreading out. Okay, and by the way, the information back then did not spread half as fast as the disease did. But now the information is out there. It's all around the world. It's time to start using your brains. Put your feelings of, but I want to have my freedom. I want things to go back to normal. Personally, I hope they don't go back to the way they were. The amount of greed, debauchery, and stupidity that I was witness to prior to COVID hitting was absolutely appalling, and sad to say it hasn't gotten much better. At least not in my opinion. Now, yes, there are people out there that are doing wonderful things. There are people that have made some incredible inroads. There are people that are having great influences. And to those people, thank you very much. But for the massive majority of people, I'm not seeing a whole lot of change. If you watch the news, they talk about everything that everybody's doing wrong. Well, more to the point, they're talking about everything that is being done wrong regarding COVID. They're not talking about everything else. Okay. And my request to the media is start talking about the people that are helping each other, the businesses that are complying with the guidelines and thus are keeping their businesses open. I know of one business in particular that, in spite of the virus, I know of one company in particular that is currently looking at opening another location. I know of a couple of them, but one in specific comes to mind. Now, I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but I will tell you that that this one company that I know of specifically, in spite of the COVID mess, in spite of travel and all this, they are literally in a position of looking to expand into another location. Absolute thumbs up to these people. Okay, they are doing a fantastic job, and that is the whole trick. See, the people that are going to survive in this world are the ones that can survive through the adversity. Together, all of us working towards the same goal can actually make a difference here. Okay, And the reality of it is that if we don't work together, the virus will win. It will decimate because people are reacting in fear right now. Now, I suggested, and it's very important that you start working on the family unit, the one that you're living with. Okay, whoever you're living with, whether it's bloodline, whether it's roommates, doesn't matter. That's your family unit. Start talking about and start interacting with each other. Find out what each other are involved in. Take this time to get to know each other. Okay, instead of living on the internet, pick up your phone. Okay, if somebody has a phone but does not have internet, does not have a video link, pick up the phone and phone them. Okay, if you're having trouble reaching them, pick up the phone, get word out that you're reaching out to these people, because it's going to be this idea of everybody reaching out and working with each other, reconnecting with each other, that is going to turn this around, that is going to make this a better world for everybody. And when I mean everybody, I mean the plants, the animals, the minerals, the people, the humans, the non-humans, it doesn't matter. All of you are on the same planet. Okay, and in all fairness, if you're looking for a better world, it doesn't happen by ignoring it. Okay, it doesn't happen by going, it's somebody else's responsibility. That is not the way it works. Okay, the only way for people to become successful is to get off your tail feathers and do so. Okay, and make changes. Eliminate the things you're not content with. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm personally not content with COVID. I'm a recluse, so it didn't have as big an impact. But I'm also an empath, so I can feel what's going on out there. And again, you don't have to believe me. This is quite literally my personal outlook on it. Okay, but see if it does not make sense to you. Ask yourself this. Are you following that one simple karmic law? Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Are you treating the people around you the way you desire to be treated? Are you being true to yourself? Are you putting your energy into the stuff you desire to see happen? Okay. Remember, be true to yourself. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. If you're following those guidelines, then working together, and I'm talking about working together around the globe. If you're a flat earther, well, no offense to you, but we're still going to have to look around the physical side of it. Okay, now, the reason, I'm just going to touch on that for a second. The reason I personally believe it's a globe is because I've personally been up there and seen it. Scrap all the science out there. Okay, scrap all the ideas of what's out there. Okay, or what videos could have been used. And we'll just look at the fact of practical experience. Okay, so everybody around the world, call it what you will, everybody around the world is absolutely, is absolutely in this together. Whether you want to be or not, it doesn't matter. There is no person on the planet that has so much money they will not get, and that they absolutely are immune to it. Okay, COVID itself is an absolute disaster. But it's being propagated because people are being, quite frankly, too selfish and too short-sighted to bother paying attention to what they're potentially doing to the neighbor. Unless they're doing it on purpose, as I know of a couple of reports where people deliberately went, yeah, I know I'm sick, but I'm going to a massively occupied place anyway. I don't care that I'm sick. I have my right to go out. Well, certainly you do. But that's kind of like telling the person that has a gun that it's their right to pull the trigger. Now, you do have freedom of choice. It's the consequences that you have to take a look at. You have the freedom of choice of stepping off a balcony. Problem with that is the consequences is gravity, whether you believe it or not, is going to play havoc with your circulation pretty quick. Now, the reality is that falls kill very few people. It's the landing that really screws up the circulation. Well, this one's a little different than I was planning. I usually do a different routine. But you see where that goes. This is why I don't plan things very far. Now, I'm going to get on with my day. Hopefully you'll get on with your day. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. Okay, so you can get the rest of the information that's out there. And if you're trying to get a hold of me, if you've got questions for me, or if you've got concerns that you'd like to take a look at from any industry, any walk, absolutely drop me a line at one of the contact points below this video. Okay, you'll also find a list of different publications that I've already got in print that can be ordered directly through me. Okay, but I'm going to bring this to a close. Okay, and until we talk again, which, by the way, will be tomorrow sometime, until we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.